You are.
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. But what you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that. The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better. PDM, my parish, my development, my life.
In a nation hungry for truth, a world where every story matters, there exists a beacon of trust and reliability. For decades, they've been our voice and our window to the world, holding the mirror of our history. With 4 TV stations and 11 radio channels spanning 27 languages, they stand as guardians of information, defenders of truth. With Mascari Heritage Advantage, they uphold every citizen's right to reliable and free information. Their archive stories shaped our past and illuminate our present. Yet now, as new challenges arise and the world evolves, their mission faces its greatest test yet. Be part of our journey and let's navigate the unknown, uncover the untold, and safeguard our future together. Tune into your public broadcaster, for it is the intersection of trust and truth. Because to UBC, your story, and every voice matters. UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Once again, good morning, and this is Good Morning Uganda. What you're doing, watching Good Morning Uganda every single morning, we don't take that for granted. My name is Olive Monica Najoma, your host, and we are getting into our conversation today on the news bill. Now, since 1987 in the United States, they deemed April as an alcohol awareness month. And since then, this has spread across the world that even here in Uganda, we do recognize this month as an alcohol awareness month. Now, last week, we did have many conversations regarding substance abuse by young people, but also other Ugandans. We looked at the substances they use, including drugs like meth, including drugs like cocaine, but also alcohol. Now, in Uganda, it is estimated that each person in Uganda consumes up to 12.2 liters of alcohol per year, and of course men are noted to be heavier drinkers than women. However, research also indicates that women are catching up. Now, 75% of esophageal cancers are attributed to chronic excessive alcohol consumption, and also nearly 50% of cancers of the mouth are associated with heavy drinking. So as you're having fun, what you're drinking might actually be contributing to your premature death. And in May 2023, a report from the World Health Organization revealed that Uganda topped the rest of Africa for being the highest alcohol intake, for having the highest alcohol intake. These are grim figures, and this is a grim picture painted about our country, but also it begs for the question, where does this leave the young people in this country? Because new research also indicates that many young people involve themselves in drinking or alcohol consumption as a way to relax and have a good time. Now, today I will be speaking to a lady that has overcome addiction, and this is Rebecca Machelli, who is an author of Woman Fire Grace. She is also a global speaker. She will tell us more about herself, but overall, we will be looking at overcoming addiction. I would really invite you to join this conversation, and also invite family and friends to be a part of this conversation. And in the event that you have any questions, any views regarding the same, please write to us on the number 0709 602 592. The same number is displayed on your screen. Good morning, Rebecca.
Good morning, Olive.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
I am glad to have you, as this conversation is one of those that we cannot be quiet about.
I agree.
Yes. But briefly, I see you are an author, you are a global speaker. Tell us more about Rebecca.
Yes, so I'm somebody who has overcome alcohol addiction. I struggled with alcohol use disorder from the age of 15. I started drinking when I was 15, and this led to a nearly 15-year struggle with alcohol, which had me drop out of university twice and had me kicked out of the house and had me homeless on the streets of Kampala for 5 years, until the time when I made the decision to commence my sobriety journey. So since then, I've been able to turn the pain into purpose. I've written my story in a book, using any opportunity that I can to bring awareness to the long-term effects of the use of alcohol or even substances in any way. Yes.
Okay. Now, let's look at your journey as a substance user, alcohol abuser. What would you say triggered it?
To be honest, for me, it was just curiosity, peer pressure. There are two major causes of alcoholism or alcohol use disorder. The first one is curiosity or peer pressure, and the second is using alcohol as a coping mechanism for any form of distress or stressful situations. As a teenager, I was invited by a friend to go out and party. I never found alcohol to be something that I wanted to indulge in, because I grew up with a dysfunctionally alcoholic mother, and she passed away when I was 14 to alcohol attributed causes, liver cirrhosis and the like. And I remember growing up and saying I never want to take alcohol because of what I saw it do to her. But a year later, a friend just invited me out. Those were the days when we had discotheque. I won't go too much into details, but those who know. And the first time I took alcohol, I loved the feeling of it. And
you
that,
did?
Yes,
On
I
the
loved,
first time?
Yeah, I loved the intoxication. I just loved the, there was just that escape from reality, and it felt so good. And so I told to my friend who took me out that day, I said, I want to experience this more and more. And so I started going out more and more. And next thing I knew, something that started out as a harmless habit started to control me. And that began the downward spiral into becoming an alcohol addict.
Okay. Interesting here is that the first time you tested alcohol, you actually enjoyed it.
Yes.
Because many people don't like the taste of alcohol in the start. Which brings me to the other question. Given that your mom succumbed to alcohol use disorder, do you think that from your perspective and from the research that you have carried out, would you say that alcoholism can sometimes be hereditary?
Not even sometimes. Majority of the time, there is a hereditary aspect attached to it, which is why many people need to be aware, to sit down and do some mapping in their families. And, if you are aware that there's a certain pattern in your family, the responsibility and the onus is on you to be able to share that with your children, to share it with other family members, so that they can be aware and they can be cautious, knowing that they are susceptible to alcohol use disorder or addiction. Yes.
And in your situation, because when we hear about alcohol abuse disorder or alcoholism, most people think that you have to evidently be, like they have to see it to
Right.
believe it. And since we just came from Easter, most of them are doubting Thomases
Yes.
until they have seen. So when you were going through this, was it evident? Could I look at you and say, she has a problem with alcohol?
Right, and that's a very good question, because we have very many functional alcoholics today.
Yes.
Because it doesn't show immediately, and that's why many people justify their drinking, because the negative effects have not started to manifest. But what people don't realize is there's no relationship with alcohol that ends well, no matter how long it takes. So the more that people consume it, the more it is rewiring their brain chemistry in order for them to be, you know, addicted or hooked onto it. And by the time they want to make the decision to stop, it becomes difficult because their brain chemistry has already been rewired and they are dependent on it. So I always tell people, whatever opportunity that you have to start the journey of quitting alcohol, please take that opportunity. Yeah.
A friend of mine who is a recovery coach, I think you know him, Bill Bekunda.
Very good friend of mine.
Yes, he normally says that many people don't believe they're addicts or that they have a problem, because when you ask them, when do you drink, they're like, I'm a social drinker.
Right.
And he normally says that there is no such a thing as a social drinker.
Right.
Please help us understand more of that.
I believe that as people calling themselves social drinkers is an excuse to just use social settings to feed a habit and a lifestyle. You know, I don't like attaching labels and affirming afflictions and diseases and disorders. And I actually agree with him. There's people who just use that term to say, just because I am able to go or to drink within these social settings, that makes me a social drinker. You know, then there are other people who tell you, me, I'm a home drinker. Me, I only drink at home. That's them justifying that they like drinking maybe away from, you know, maybe near their beds. There are people who want to drink and drink and drink and not have the hassle of call an Uber, call her this, call her that.
Drive
that
home.
I can just pass out in my couch, you know. So I actually do agree with him. I don't believe in anything like a social drinker, as much as there are people who are much more comfortable drinking in social settings. I refuse to affirm that in people. Yes.
Okay. Now, let's look at the dangers. I like that when you broke down the kind of people who call themselves social drinkers, you
Yes.
did mention the people who say, I am a home drinker. Now, with the rise of liquor stores in our neighborhoods,
Yes.
alcohol freely sold in supermarkets and
Yes.
other places, shops, you find that there are many homes where they are sending children
Yes.
to go to the supermarket, to go to the liquor store, to go to the shop,
Yes.
to pick maybe a sachet, maybe a bottle of beer, maybe
Right.
a bottle of whiskey, and they bring it home. But also they have cellars where
Yes.
they have these collections of wines and what have you. Tell us, what would the danger of exposing children to alcohol in a home could be in later years?
Absolutely. Predisposition and exposing children to alcohol in younger years is definitely going to give them an edge or make them more susceptible to getting alcohol use disorder. This, putting them in an environment where there's alcohol makes it normal for them.
Even if you don't give it to them to
Even
drink.
if you don't give it to them. You know, the subconscious mind is very powerful. You know, images, environments, all these things. And one thing about children is they're very great imitators. The thing is, we need to give them something great to imitate. My mother used to send me to the shop to buy her the mizinga. And, you know, when I walked into that discotheque when I was 15 years old, the bouncer didn't ask for ID and all of this. Even the children did not ask. The children who are being sent to the shops, between the parent who has sent them to the shop, and also the seller who has sold them the alcohol, somebody needs to be in jail. Between the two of them, or actually both of them, because this now comes down to alcohol legislation and implementation and enforcement of legislation. Why are children below the age of 18 being freely exposed to alcohol or being given the leeway to purchase alcohol, right? So for me, there's such a call towards the enforcement of legislation. As much as our legislation around alcohol is quite blurry or gray, still there needs to be an effort to reinforce the legislation around alcohol, especially when it comes to children.
Especially when it comes to children. Now,
Yeah.
join the conversation how to overcome alcoholism or alcohol abuse, whatever you want to label it, but join the conversation on how to overcome addiction. I am speaking at 09602592. Again, if you're just joining us, I'll share the research which shows that nearly 50% of cancers of the mouth are associated with heavy drinking, and also 75% of esophageal cancers are attributed to chronic excessive alcohol consumption. I believe you've seen people that are heavy drinkers, and sometimes even their lips have lost color, their skin looks different, and these are usually things that happen not in one go, but it is something that happens over a space of time. And Rebecca here just said that there is nothing like I drink a little, there is nothing like I drink over the weekend. You are exposing yourself to bigger issues later on in your life. Now, let's go back to your story. What triggered you to seek help?
To be honest, I found myself, it happened during the COVID-19 lockdown. I had been homeless on the streets for about 5 years. This was 2020, and somehow, some money appeared, and I was put in a very small house in Chaliwadjala. And just as I was trying to get my life together, the president announced the lockdown. And so it was in that lockdown that I began my rehabilitation. I keep telling people that rehabilitation is not a place. Rehab is not a place, it's a process. Rehab centers are simply controlled environments that help facilitate and foster the rehabilitation process. And so it was in that place that I had to overcome the withdrawals, the cravings, the triggers, because I was broke. I had no money, I couldn't access alcohol, and so the war of the mind began. Because I was now sober. I was now unable to run or escape the things that I had been running from the last 15 years. My life was clear before me. I felt like a failure. I felt like my friends had gone ahead of me. You know, I felt like life was over for me, you understand? And so I had to overcome all of those things: shame, guilt, condemnation, not knowing whether my family knew where I was, not knowing, you know, what the future held for me. And so it was in that time that so many things happened to me, emotionally, mentally, and it was a grueling process. And this is why many people actually fall back into relapse, because they are not able to withstand that mental pressure that comes with healing. Because a mind that's accustomed to chaos can't comprehend clarity. So when sobriety comes in the picture, there's a war in the mind, and the worst battlefield is the mind, because you carry it with you everywhere. You can't get a break from it. So there was some work that I needed to do that I had been running from for the last 15 years, and that is how my journey to sobriety began.
Wow, this is rather mind-blowing,
Right.
what you have done with yourself. You look very beautiful, by the way.
Thank you so much.
You've done so well, and this is quite encouraging, but also a humbling experience. You did mention that at some point you were homeless.
Yes.
Please tell us more about that.
I was homeless. I was sleeping on the street.
What led to that?
At some point, I believe it was 2015, I really believe my father just didn't comprehend what was happening, why I was drinking the way that I was. And this actually, I don't blame him at all, because very many people do not know what to do when they have a loved one who's dealing with alcohol use disorder or a substance use disorder. So the easiest way is just to throw people out of your house or to throw people on the street. And you know, this is someone who saw this happen to his wife, and now he's seeing it happen to his youngest daughter. You know, and this is something that happens to very many families. And one thing people need to know is, as much as people dealing with alcohol or substances can be annoying, they are manipulative, they are irritating, sometimes they lie, they steal, the greatest thing that you can do for them in that time is to show them grace and give them support. Because their behavior, with already the condemnation and the shame that they're dealing with, they don't need another accusatory finger pointing at them. And so the greatest thing that they can do for a loved one is to just be there for them, support them, be the support system that they need. So eventually, yeah, I was on the streets for 5 years. And to be honest, if you ever put someone with a substance use disorder on the streets, it will give them whatever they're looking for double.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would like for you to speak to someone that is resolute in their hate for alcohol.
Right.
One person we work with here, Ruben, hates alcohol like no man's business.
Right.
And he is also traditional in a sense of, what do you mean you're drinking?
Yes.
So paint a picture for someone like that on the kind of support they need to give a person that has alcohol abuse disorder rather than throwing them out.
Right. It's just the same thing that I just said. It's having grace, because it might not be you, but who knows, in another lifetime, it could be you in their position, right? And so what we can do is just continue to extend grace, because they are not bad people. They just made some bad decisions that have led them down a bad path. And what we need to do is just show love, show support, show grace. It's difficult, but it's not impossible. And so that really is the only advice I have for people to, when they're dealing with anyone who's dealing with a substance or alcohol use disorder.
Okay. Don't castigate them, don't cast them away, but support them. How about society at large? Because people that are recovering or are still with the alcohol abuse disorder, drunkard, wadanga, we have names in our local dialects to describe them. So as a society, what kind of support should we give these people?
Okay, first of all, I believe that there is a need for mass awareness and education in society. One, about the actual consequences of long-term use of alcohol. Two, about how to deal with people who have been exposed to alcohol and are dealing with those effects. And, you know, just as you've mentioned, in society we have names that we give people, and I see that it's going two ways these days, yeah? There's a negative stigma and there's a positive stigma that is reinforcing the behavior. On one hand, they'll call a drunkard, you know, mutamivu, walevi, in Swahili they call them walevi. Then on this other side, I see how society is glorifying alcohol misuse, and a person who's known for drinking is now called Pate Commander, Vibes CEO.
Okay.
These things are reinforcing negative behavior, right? And so as a community, we need to come together and understand how can we normalize sobriety and denormalize alcohol abuse, because alcohol has been woven so much into our fabric.
That's true.
It used to be a celebratory drink. Now it's just a lifestyle. Monday, sijui happy hour, where? Tuesday, where? Wednesday, midweek, Thursday, this, Friday, now even brunch. Sometime I saw at your poster of brunch in Mperere, brunch at 7 p.m. I said, Ugandans, what are we doing? Just
actually,
go and drink in peace.
When you look at footages of most of the Kampala branches, the most outstanding item on the menu is alcohol. Bottomless brunch.
Right.
Bottom doesn't mean eat until you drop. It means drink until you can't drink no more.
Right. So, I mean, where we are going, we've even lost the plot of why people even drink alcohol in the first place. It's like now it's just a part of society. And this is very dangerous, because people are masking mental health disorders in there. People are masking things that they have to confront in there, you know. And even with the report of, I think it was 2022, when they released a report about, I think it's 14.2 million Ugandans dealing with mental disorders.
Yes, yes.
And today a lot of people are actually using alcohol to numb mental health disorders. So there's a misdiagnosis. A person can be diagnosed with alcohol use disorder, yet they have clinical depression.
So you have alcohol use disorder, but the trigger is actually
the depression.
Mental illness.
Yes. So it becomes bidirectional. And this creates a vicious cycle, because a depressed person takes alcohol, which is a depressant, makes them depressed again. When they feel depressed, they take alcohol, makes them depressed again. You understand?
So it's a vicious cycle.
It's a vicious cycle. So there needs to be a mass awareness of people to understand that, one, alcohol is not the solution that they are looking for, and that they need to actually get the right help that they need. Two, as a community, we need to create interventions for, one, people who are dealing with addictions. Two, to sensitize families. every national problem started as a community problem. Every community problem started as a family problem. Every family problem started as an individual problem. As individuals, what are we doing to work on ourselves so that we do not replicate patterns of brokenness? How can homes become homes again? Yeah.
And I could break it down further. You said every societal problem began as a family problem.
Yes.
And every family problem began as an individual problem.
Yes.
And the individual problem here is, my understanding of what Rebecca is saying is, if you're a parent and you don't deal with your mental illness or mental health related challenges, what you seek to do, let's say you hide everything in alcohol, is going to affect your children.
Yes.
Your children will affect other people's children.
Yes.
And before we know it, we have a society that is affected.
That's true.
Wow. Thank you so much for being a part of Good Morning Uganda. Now, I have some views coming through, Rebecca. Sheila T says, good morning. Right now, watching your program, violence in marriage, no love, beatings. She says those lead to alcohol abuse. And then the next one, the next comment is from Harmony from Barara City. And he says, good morning, Miss Olive. Thanks for the show. There is no benefits from alcohol other than consequences. I was once an alcohol addict, but I thank God that I left. I was out of it was out of peer pressure that I was introduced to drinking. Most of the accidents on our roads, domestic violence, child abuse, immorality and poverty has come as a result of excessive drinking. The only way to leave alcohol is to avoid peer groups of drinkers and surrendering to the Almighty God. And the next comment is from Cricket Derek Gagamel from Makindye Luafu, who says, good morning, Olive and our guest. To some of us who watch people who take alcohol from a distance, after witnessing the tough repercussions of excessive drinking, we get million reasons to thank God for not falling into that trap before, and never to be tempted to take that path as well. Most of our fellows start drinking with confidence that they can control, and later it becomes an addiction, and then it's too late for them to control. I conclude by advocating for regulations governing all companies, distributors, sellers, and to the consumers themselves. Questions like why, what, where, when, and how must be key in this drive. Thank you so much, Derek, and the others that have commented. And as we are closing our conversation in a minute, Rebecca, I would like to hear your parting remarks, especially on the part where Derek says most people think they can control.
Right.
Yes.
And I love to hear when people say, you know, I'm trying to control my drinking. By the time you're trying to control something, it's already controlling you. And I will always say, there is no relationship with alcohol that ends well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much, Rebecca. Macheli, I've been speaking to Rebecca Macheli, who is now recovered. Are you a recovering addict or you're fully recovered?
I'm free. I'm 5 years clean today.
Okay, she's 5 years clean today, so congratulations.
Thank you so much.
That's beautiful. And thank you so much for being a part of the show. We need to have more and more of these conversations at the family level, in your groups, as you're speaking to your friends, because it's all fun and games until someone is sick, until someone dies in an accident, and yet we can avoid this. What I've taken away from this conversation is no relationship with alcohol ends well. Take it as you may, and this is where the conversation will end. But Good Morning Uganda does continue. Up next is Good Morning Uganda Tourism Express.
Juko.
Yo.
Wachikuwa. Check the shopping, man. What's your secret?
Haven't you heard of the parish development model, PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No, Sebatia. It is real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a portrait project, and now things are moving.
Juko. I thought I was one of your friends.
You are.
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. But what you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief, and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that. The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better. PDM, my parish, my development, my life.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Where we were was just inside the shrine, and it was dedicated to all the Uganda martyrs. Not all of them were killed from here, but it is a dedication to all the Uganda martyrs, and it is the exact spot also where Kaloli Rwanga was killed, just where we were standing. There's no such remain, but there was a bone that they got to show us, which you can get to find. Now, when you come outside, we have the demonstration of everything that is inside, just behind us. And that is what we are going to dive into right now, again with Ben. He's going to still tell us about the demonstration, why we have it here, and the surroundings around it.
Still again, my name is Ben Tenywa, in charge of the tourists and pilgrims at the Uganda Martyrs Catholic Shrine in Mugongo. Now, where we are here is a demonstration of what we saw inside the shrine. This is a demonstration showing how the leader, Charles Rwanga, was killed. Charles Rwanga, or Kaloli Rwanga, was the leader of all the Uganda martyrs. So, he was tied, he was wrapped in mat reeds, firewood. You see, somebody is lighting the fire, another one is adding on more firewood. The fire came from feet to head, while he was still alive. And he told them, you are burning me, but it is as if you are pouring water over my body. You have not tied me well. Leave me and I tie myself so that you can burn me. Gandhi told the king, he has killed me for nothing. Let him repent. If he does not repent, I'll be the accuser before God. Mother Mary is a patron of this place. That's why they have put a holy image of Mother Mary. And those people were kneeling, were praying for Charles Rwanga, Kaloli Rwanga, who was in the fire burning, that he may go to heaven. So this is what took place.
And sorry to cut you short. So the people that were kneeling, were they also Uganda martyrs?
They were also Uganda martyrs, but the church believes they were already in heaven. They were killed first, praying for this man who was still in the fire burning. Now here, there is some bit of history. You see? King Mutesa I. Mutesa I was the one who invited the missionaries. He was the one who wrote the letter inviting the missionaries to come to Uganda. He wrote it to Queen Victoria. Queen Victoria. That letter was taken in England by Leonard Benfield and was published in a newspaper called the Daily Telegraph of England on the 14th of April, 1875. So missionaries started coming, first Anglicans in 1877. Again, the Catholics came on 17th of February, 1879. Father Simeon Ludel and Brother Amanes. Here they are landing at Chigungu near Entebbe Airport. When they landed on the soil of Uganda, they knelt down, they prayed, asking God to bless their missionary work. They dedicated this country to Mary, Mother of Jesus. They went to the palace, where they got the king, Mutesa I, who gave them a house where they were staying. They went to the palace here in Lubaga. At Lubaga, they were given at the palace. They were given permission to teach Christianity. They were given land at Nabulagala. Nabulagala. You see? Now after this, Mutesa died. When Mutesa died, his son Mwanga succeeded him. Now it was King Mwanga who killed the Uganda martyrs. Why? He accused them of being disobedient because on Sunday they were not working. They were going for prayers. Now the king thought they are becoming disobedient. So he accused them of being disobedient. Number 2, he accused them of being rebels. The way they were praying, let your kingdom come. The king thought, which kingdom is that? I'm the king here. How can they say their king is in heaven? He regarded them as rebels. And the prison was punishable by death. Arabs were here, Arabs were dealing in slave trade. When the missionaries came, they were telling the king the slave trade is evil. Now the business got interrupted. For that matter, Arabs started influencing the king to kill. Christianity also preached against witchcraft. People stopped going to the witch doctors to get solution for their problem. The witch doctor lost market. They also telling the king to kill. Arabs were telling the king to kill. Witch doctors were telling the king to kill. Prime Minister Mukasa was telling the king to kill. Now the king told the Uganda Martyrs, if you don't leave Christianity, I'm going to kill you. They said, you kill us, we are not going to leave. Now they were arrested from Kampala, Munyonyo. They came on killing. At Munyonyo they killed 3. Then a Sebugwa, Posiano, Ngondwe, and Ukagwa. They just cut off their hands, legs, and scattered the pieces. All the Kampala, they killed Matia Mulumba. Owino Market, they killed Bali Kudembe and the Bazekere. When they are about to here, they killed Gonzaga. The rest were brought here at Namugongo and burnt like this. You see? They were burnt like this. See? They were wrapped in matrix. See, these are heads. These are heads. These are heads. They were wrapped in matrix, firewood, and the fire was lit from feet to head, while they were still alive. Some people were cut. Some people were speared. So it was on the 3rd of June, 1886, 137 years ago. Now, whenever this day comes, 1 million people come. We don't pray in the church. We pray on the lake. We go there to see.
Okay. We started from the shrine itself in the inside, getting to see the remain that was the bone of Kaloli Ranga, who was killed at the exact spot where we were. There were paintings, of course, and pictures of the Pope who came to cleanse the place after it had been put in place while construction was still taking place. But there were also pictures of each Uganda martyrs. Remember, the shrine was a dedication to all of them, all the Uganda martyrs. And shortly after that, we got to the place outside that just depicts all that is inside. You also got to see it has pictures on the side that shows the kings who wrote the letter, how Mutesa wrote the letter to Queen Victoria, and of course the process to Mapera until Kabaka Mwanga, who killed these martyrs. But we are not stopping yet. We are also heading to the lake and get to know what's there for us. Remember, we are still talking about religious tourism, and this one is dedicated to the Catholics. We are still in the Lent period, and this is the 3rd week. I'll be waiting you to join me as we continue to exhaust religious tourism with the Catholics. We'll be starting exactly at the lake and getting to see what's also there regarding the Uganda matters.
Welcome back from JMU Tourism Express. It's time for JMU Business. My name is Julie Nantabamusisi, and we're starting with matters China. China has threatened to hit back at countries that will make deals with the U.S. In other words, if these deals actually and ultimately damage Beijing. Now, this comes after reports that U.S. plans to pressure governments to restrict trade with China in exchange for exemptions to U.S. tariffs. Now, that might be a story that you just hear or listen to, but think twice. What does that mean for Africa, especially Africa, that is the country that you're in? Now, what this means is the fact that there are obviously significant implications that have to come for Africa as a region, but also for individual countries. And it comes with, number one, pressure to have a choice between USA and China. But that's not all. It also means that there is increased bargaining power for African countries, which ideally is a tick, because if these two continue to fight against each other, that means that Africa also has a bargaining power as to what terms and conditions it works with, either with the USA or with China. But also let's look at the risk of isolation. Just in case this war continues, whichever country Africa leans towards the farthest, that means it's isolated by the other, which is a risk in itself. But also looking at the impact of trade agreements, as we might all know, Africa is involved in multilateral deals, and these might become more complicated. And finally, looking at the side of technology and infrastructure, China is a major player when it comes to Africa's infrastructure. I mean, talk about things like the railways, talk about things like the ports. That means it is at a risk. So a lot to look forward to, but let's indeed watch the space as it goes on. Prayer is that we remain, as Uganda remains stable and our economy growing stronger and better. But let's also come back to Uganda and look at matters cocoa in a bold effort to uplift livelihoods in Lango sub-region, Lango Diocese. Bishop Professor Alfred Olua has launched a campaign to promote cocoa farming as a sustainable and profitable cash crop. Bishop Olua called upon the community to stop borrowing but embrace agriculture, and cocoa farming has started gaining ground in Lango sub-region, with the church and community leaders taking lead during the launch of over 400 farmers from a Root North constituency who received free cocoa seedlings. Now, the campaign is part of a larger vision shared by retired Army Officer Major General Emmy Johnson Opio, but farmers are concerned over climate change, particularly prolonged drought. So far, there are plans to form cooperatives to improve market access, strengthen farmer leadership, and give growers a stronger voice in the cocoa value chain. But also still staying with farmers, livestock farmers residing near National Generic Resources Centers and Data Bank in northern Uganda are concerned over the challenging process of obtaining improved animal breeds. Many farmers have attempted to apply for breeds to enhance their local livestock, but often face difficulties during the auctions where the highest bidder acquires all the available animals. Felix Odongo, a resident of Akokoro sub-county in a park district, acquired improved animals from the National Genetic Resources Center at Maruzi Ranch last year, and the farm manager at the center defended the current auctioning policy, emphasizing that it prioritizes the highest bidder. This issue was raised with the Minister of State for Northern Uganda, Dr. Kenneth Omona, during his visit to monitor government projects. And Dr. Omona called for a review of the auctioning policy to accommodate vulnerable livestock farmers seeking to improve their farming practices. Now, with that, let's take a look at what the forex rates look like as of 17th April 2025. And the dollar was buying at 3,660.00 and selling at 3,670.00. By midday, it was still at 3,660.00 and still selling at 3,670.00. And by end of day, it had dropped value to 3,659.73 and selling at 3,669.73. The pound was buying at 4,837.43 and selling at 4,850.64. And the euro was buying at 4,160.01 and selling at 4,171.38. The Kenyan shilling was at 28.21 and selling at 28.29, and the Tanzanian shilling was buying at 1.36 and selling at 1.37. And finally, the South African rand was buying at 193.95 and selling at 194.48. Well, that's it from GMU Business today. The agenda is up next. Good morning.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, This is Good Morning Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC. Was brought to you by
I'll call you every day, yeah, yo, baby, don't know.
You can now get all the Chibuzi out with MTN voice bundles. Call all networks. Kubei Dondoro. Buy a 25-minute voice bundle for only 1,000. Or buy any daily voice bundle of your choice. Dial *100 *21# and select daily or use the My MTN app. When we talk together, we are unstoppable.
Juko.
Yo.
Check the shopping, man. What's your secret?
Uganda, haven't you heard of the parish development model PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No, Sebatia. It is real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a portrait project, and now things are moving.
Juko. I thought I was one of your friends.
You are.
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. What you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that. The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better. PDM, my parish, my development, my life.
In a nation hungry for truth, a world where every story matters, there exists a beacon of trust and reliability. For decades, they've been our voice and our window to the world, holding the mirror of our history. With 4 TV stations and 11 radio channels spanning 27 languages, they stand as guardians of information, defenders of truth. With Maskari Heritage Advantage, they uphold every citizen's right to reliable and free information. Their archive stories shaped our past and illuminate our present. Yet now, as new challenges arise and the world evolves, their mission faces its greatest test yet. Be part of our journey and let's navigate the unknown, uncover the untold, and safeguard our future together. Tune into your public broadcaster, for it is the intersection of trust and truth. Because to UBC, your story, and every voice matters. UBC, inspiring Uganda.
The government's core mandate is to maintain law and order, safeguard citizens' rights, and provide essential public services.
Remember, one of the pillars of a roadmap is innovation and entrepreneurship.
There has been this question of how are you protecting our indigenous seed?
It's going to be a tall project that answers somebody's question.
For the past 20 weeks, the front bench has brought you insightful discussions on governance, security, healthcare, justice, and commerce.
When you go through this complicated procedure, involve the lawyers, you bring the case against him, the judge will hear you out and pass judgment, and you're out of court in record time.
We remain committed to keeping you informed and engaged on key national matters.
So these are huge, these are powerful organizations which now Uganda chairs. Why don't you come together?
If we haven't migrated to the e-card because of various reasons, including that not all the people of Uganda have smartphones.
You can sit in your house, apply for a passport.
If you have a Ugandan who has a successful logistics firm in the US, it means he can come to Uganda and do a lot more.
Now airing every Monday at 8:30 p.m. with me, Jethro Kasaiji, your interface with the government only on your public broadcaster, UBC, inspiring Uganda.
A new dawn on Behind the Headlines with me, Timothy Nyangweso. Every Wednesday, live in our studios in the heart of Kampala, we have conversations that have analysis, explanation, but not every truth is fact, and not every fact is truth. Every Wednesday, 10 p.m. on your public broadcaster.
All on your public broadcaster, UBC, inspiring Uganda.
I'd love to take this opportunity to thank our President, Yoweri Kaguta Trihabura Museveni, by coming up with a Myoga program. We started in 2021 as Kasumi Parish Carpenters Myoga Circle. When we received this amount of 30 million, we had a problem, we had a challenge of machines. We used to carry our wood and we would carry it up to Waise to be worked on. So when we got this chance, we are able to buy machines to ease our work of carpentry. At the moment, we are a number composed of 140 members. We have the women who come in and do saloon chairs. We have the men doing 3-drawer tables, 2-drawer tables, and different kind of furniture. Before the Myoga program came in, we had a lot of crimes taking place on this road. When this Myoga program came up, we managed to collect these youth. We gave them hope that you can change from stealing, and we can give you skill so that you be someone in the society that will even help another person.
Kansoke ddala okwebaza omukulembeze w'eggwanga olw'emirimu emirungi gy'ataddemu ngaffe abavubuka. Nze nno nze omu ku abo abaabeeranga ku kkubo okwo emisana n'ekiro ng'oluusi olw'okuba naffe tunoonya ekyokulya nga gwa kiyina oba mmwe twakiyitanga b'amalala bagenda beerabisa nga tubagwamu munnange era nga tuba tulina obikuggyako naffe ne tubaawo. Naye munnange neebaza kyamani wange wa wano yankwatako nno wamu ne bannange twatandika okukozesa mashini zino, tandika okuwawula, okulanda, okukola dizayini, emmeeza zino tuzifulumya, entebe bwe ziti. Tulina emirimu gye tutandikirako emyangu okugeza ng'okufulumya obumotoka buno. Kano akamotoka n'omwana omuto w'emyaka 5 akafulumya. Bw'ova mu kufulumya akamotoka kano owawula, okukwata oluwawu n'owawula emmeeza ng'eno n'ebeera smooth. Oluvaawo nga bakutwala ku mashini eno olubaawo lukole bwoti lutambe. Bwe ntyo ndi wa mukisa byonna saabisasulira. Najja wano ne baŋŋamba President Museveni bino ebyuma yabituwa. Byammwe mulina okuba nga mubikozesa. Omukisa ne ngutwala. Era neebaza kuba kati ne bwe mba nvudde wano ne ŋŋenda ewalala. Ne bwe ŋŋenda Sudan nsobola okusigala nga ndi mulimu gwe gumu ogw'obubazzi ne gumbeezaawo wamu ne famire yange. Ku saving wange ebimu ku byentereka bwe bampa akasente kange nfulumya emmeeza yange eno bino kiri wano si kya kiyamaani waffe nedda wano tulinawo itemu zaffe kati ku ssaawa eno zonjogera wano ninawo emmeeza ezange 5 n'entebe 12 ezitambulira ku mmeeza ezo nga zange era nga zo ne baba bazituuze wali sente baziwanze oluusi emirimu n'emirala ne gijja ne bagala twafunye omulimu bwe guti mujje mufulumye entebe wano zino bwe zitimuga kukola sente bwe kityo. Emyoga gino okuba nagyegattako bingi byenfunye. Edda nze nalinga sisobola kusasula nnyumba gye mbeeramu era nja kunoonya gye ŋŋenda okusula mu mifulejje era eyo mifulejje gye ŋŋenda okusanga olite oli ajja atamidde nga ye ate alina n'essimu gy'amulisa. Kale ebintu ng'ebyo nze kati nnawe nsula era saawa eziwera nti zino saawa zakwebaka olwo nga nsimbula nga ŋŋenda neebaka nawasa tadde n'abaana nno munnange sebo kulembeze weebale bageto yuti mwenna gye muli wabweru eyo temutya temwerumaluma nkata temudda mu biki temulobera mu projekiti za gavumenti kuba zino projekiti ziriwo kutuyamba ffe zaffe zirina kutuyimusa kututeeka ku ddaala ddala bwe lwonazoberamu abalala bazeegaseemu ffe nga tukola ki bweiba bwe bityo.
Because of this Myoga program, we have been able to pick such different youth, mentor them, we train them. After learning, They also go up, even start other what? Their businesses. We have people buying from us, schools, we have factories, companies. They come and give us very juicy contracts. And out of that, that's how we've managed to accumulate this amount of saving of 70 million. So I would love to thank the President of Uganda that because of the Emyoga program, we've done what they call mindset change. Those who used to think of going for prostitution, we've captured them and changed their mind. They are here trying to do work, trying to get skills. Those used to steal, they are also here trying to get skills. We have been job seekers, but now we are no longer job seekers. We are job creators.
Juko.
Yo.
Check the shopping, man. What's your secret?
Haven't you heard of the parish development model PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No, Sebatia. It is real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a portrait project, and now things are moving.
Juko. I thought I was one of your friends.
You are.
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. What you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that. The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better. PDM, my parish, my development, my life.
Well, once again, good morning. Welcome to Good Morning Uganda. And today we have a special segment on our agenda segment where we will be dedicating it to the 3rd Annual National Labour Convention and Expo 2025. This year's theme is strengthening compliance to employment law. And we could not, in my opinion, it could not be more. Together, we will reflect on our progress and where we still fall short as a country when it comes to issues workers' rights,